Mrs. Pig's Evening Out by Rayner. Once upon a time there lived a family of pigs. There was Father Pig and Mother Pig. And there were 10 piglets. They were called Sorrel Pig, Briny Pig, Hillary Pig, Sarah Pig, Cindy Pig, Toby Pig, Alan Pig, William Pig, Garth Pig, and Benjamin Pig. One evening, Mother Pig called the children to her as they were playing all over the house.
"Now, Piglets," she said, "your father and I are going out this evening."
There was a chorus of moans. "Not far," said Miss Pig, "and I've asked a very nice lady to come and look after you."
"What is her name?"
asked William Pig.
"I don't like babysitters,"
said Benjamin. "Oh," said Mrs. Pig, looking vague. "Well, she's coming from the agency, so I'm not sure what her name is, but you're sure to like her."
"We didn't like the last one from the agency,"
rumbled Garth. "I'm sure you'll find that this babysitter will be very nice. Now get along into your baths, and I'll come and tuck you up before we go out." The piglets took as long as they could having their baths and made a great many puddles and splashes in the bathroom. But at last Mother Pig got them upstairs. Just as she was putting on her best dress, the front doorbell rang. Down ran Mrs. Pig, grunting and puffing in her haste to open the door. A dark face peered at her, heavily wrapped in a mackintosh and hat. "Are you Mrs. Pig?" asked a gruff voice.
"Yes,"
said Mother Pig brightly.
"Do come in. The children are just getting into their beds."
"They sleep in bunk beds," she explained, and so they did. 2 to a bed, head to tail, stacked 5 beds high. "Can you help me?" called Father Pig from the bedroom. Mrs. Pig hurried upstairs. He was just putting on his smart shirt, which he always wore when they went out. It was dark blue, and Mrs. Pig liked him to wear it because she thought it made him look thinner. Unfortunately, the buttons would keep coming undone, so that everyone always noticed how very tight the shirt had become. Mrs. Pig struggled to get it done up. Suddenly, she remembered that she had not asked the babysitter's name. She ran out of the bedroom again. The babysitter was just settling herself comfortably on the sofa.
"Oh, would you mind telling me what you are called?" said Mrs. Pig. "The children do like to know."
"It's Mrs. Wolf," said the babysitter, crossing a pair of dark, hairy legs and getting out her knitting.
"Oh, thanks," said Mrs. Pig without thinking. "Now, Mrs. Wolf, I've got the kitchen light on. If you should feel like making yourself a hot drink or having something to eat later in the evening, do please help yourself."
"Thank you. I shall," said Mrs. Wolf. At that moment, Mr. Pig called through to say that he was quite ready, and with many farewell kisses and hugs for the children, Mr. and Mrs. Pig went out for the evening with light hearts. Mrs. Wolf sat in the living room and read magazines and knitted. The piglets all seemed to have gone off to sleep. She went upstairs once to check. It seemed a very long evening. There was nothing to watch on television. After a while, Mrs. Wolf began to feel empty. So she went into the kitchen. But she didn't turn on the kettle. No, she turned on the oven. Then she tiptoed up to the Piglets' bedroom. In the lowest bunk bed were Garth and Benjamin, snoring faintly. Mrs. Wolf looked longingly at Garth, all rosy, plump, and pink. Then she snatched him up and carried him off downstairs. He made such a snorting and squealing, all his brothers and sisters sat bolt upright in the bed. What was going on? Quick as a flash, Sorrel cried,
"After him, everyone! Mrs. Wolf is not to be trusted!"
Seizing Garth's blanket off the bed, the 9 piglets galloped downstairs as fast as their short legs could carry them. They were in the nick of time. Mrs. Wolf was bending over the oven with her back to them, holding Garth, about to put him in.
"All 4 of you take this side of the blanket for that,"
hissed Sorrel outside the kitchen. The piglets did as they were told.
"Now!"
shouted Sorrel. They ran in and threw the blanket over Mrs. Wolf's head. She backed away from the oven, still holding Garth. Muffled snarls came through the blanket. The piglets held on tight. Mrs. Wolf struggled and thrashed, but she could not get out. She dropped Garth and went down on all fours. Garth wiggled free. The piglets hung on. Mrs. Wolf braced herself and hunched her back. Her long, hairy tail swished from side to side. Terrible growls came from her.
"Hang on, everyone!"
shouted Sorrel. Mrs. Wolf leaped into the air. The piglets were tossed to and fro, but still they hung on bravely. As soon as they were back on their feet, they circled around so that the blanket was wrapped tighter and tighter. Then they tied the 4 corners together so that she could not possibly get out, and left her in the middle of the kitchen. When their father and mother came home, the 10 piglets told them what a narrow escape they had had. Father Pig went out into the night and carried the blanket bundle to the middle of the bridge. There he leant over the parapet and shook Mrs. Wolf into the swirling depths of the big river. And she was not heard of again for a very long time. The end. To find Mr. and Mrs. Pig's Evening Out and other books by Mary Rayner, visit your local library.